So there are a lot of different specs that people use when it comes to Pain Gunner. Personally, lately I've been running mostly a high damage poison spec. So how you do that is, again, you'd use the Life Stealer for the melee, since that's the best medic melee. And you shouldn't really be using that much as a heal medic, but as a poison medic it's actually can be very useful, because if you hit someone with it, you heal yourself. So if you're low health and there's no friendly medics to heal you, it can be worth it to pull out your knife and start stabbing people. Though, if your team's there, that's frowned upon because you should be helping your team and not just whacking stuff, but it can be helpful to save your life. Then your ranged gun is going to be the Pain Gun. So this allows you to target an enemy, which will slow them and make them take increased damage and will reduce their ability to heal by a little bit. So this is useful when you're running, this is useful for your assaults, because if you can Pain Gun an enemy target, they're much slower, and it also makes it very obvious what your assault should be shooting at. So it allows all of your assaults to shoot at one target, which can't move very much, and so that target is just going to get destroyed. For the specialty, people run different things. Personally, I like running damage nanite, because you're not going to have your specialty out very often, because you should be using your Pain Gun most of the time. So this allows me, like if I'm flying to a fight or if I'm quickly searching for a new target, I can just shoot some nanites at my teammates and give them some buffs. Some people like to run the biofeedback beam, because this allows you to heal yourself. So if you're getting focused, you need to back out of the fight, you can shoot the beam at a teammate and heal yourself off of it. This is sort of more the selfish way to go, and what you would do if you don't have that good of a team. If you have a good team, I feel like nanite is the way to go. The which nanite you use is preference. You can either give more health to your teammates, you can give them damage, or you can give them power. Again, jetpack should be Crescent. There's no reason to ever use anything other than a Crescent on any class. They're just so much better. For offhands, I like running lots of poison. And at the moment I've been running a Frenzy Wave, which allows me to burst down a target really fast. So if I see someone out of position, I can get the beam on them, tell my team to shoot them, and then pop a Frenzy Wave, and they'll die instantly before the enemy medics can even tell they're getting focused. And then I like running 2 poisons. Currently, the Poison Aura is one of the best poisons you can run, just because it's undodgeable. It's an AoE centered around yourself, so if you're near the enemy, you'll hit them. There's no way to dodge it. And so it does a decent amount of damage over time, and it also lowers the protection of the enemy, and it lowers the amount of healing they receive. So those are some very good debuffs which allow your assaults to be more effective, just because you're standing near the enemy, basically. And so you pop it once, get all the debuffs off. And then another thing with poison, which is also the reason why I currently run cooldown mods on mine, is that it forces out a cure from the enemy. They have to cure or they'll just take so much damage. And so that cure is also used as a burst heal. So like when you're running a heal wave, you can either use your heal wave to cure poison, or you can use your heal wave to save a guy who's about to die. So if you're making them waste their cures on poisons, then they don't have that ability to save people who are about to die, and so your assaults can get tons more kills. And then, similar to that, I like running the Power Virus Grenade. Some people run Poison Grenade, which is this one, which has the same debuffs as the Poison Wave. It's just a grenade that you throw and explodes after a second. I like the Power Virus because I tend to throw it at the enemy medics, and so it reduces the amount of power they have, so they can't cure as well, or heal as well. And then some of the other poisons is the Soul Stealer, which this one heals yourself a lot. So this is good to run because you can throw it at a clump of enemies and get a bunch of health when you're hurt. So then the boost you should be running pretty much always is the Oathbreaker boost. How this works is when you get your boost ready, you pop it, and then all enemies around you take damage. I keep doing that. They take damage, and then your resistance is increased, and the enemy's ability to heal is decreased by 50%. So all your enemies have a lot less survivability, are taking damage from you, and you have a lot more survivability, and you're getting healed for the damage you do to them. So you can just stand in the middle of the enemy team with Oathbreaker boost on, and your assaults can just mow people down since they're not getting healed. It's a very effective way to clear point. Often, games will be a complete stalemate until one of the Pain Gunners manages to get an Oathbreaker, and they can pop a poison, and suddenly the enemy's getting no heals, and your Pain Medic is invincible. So it's a very good way to just win a fight straight out. Some people like to run a more buff Pain Medic, in which you'll most likely run Power Wave, Frenzy Wave, and Protection Wave. So this allows you, instead of doing damage and debuffs to the enemy, you're buffing your teammates. So Power Wave gives power to friendly units and gives them additional power return for a few seconds. I'm stumbling a lot over this one because I never use it. It's a pretty negligible amount of power. It's useful if an enemy's about to get away and you're completely out of power and you're just falling to the ground because you can't keep flying. So this little bit of power is enough to help you finish off an enemy. But in my opinion, Poison is much more effective because it's debuffs on all the enemies and it does damage. And then the Frenzy Wave, talked about before, increases the damage of your friendlies, and then the Protection Wave increases their protection. So the main reason to run a buff medic would be to make your assaults as powerful as possible so they can get the kills. The main reason to run a poison Pain Medic is to cripple the enemy and hurt them, make them take damage, make them debuffed, so then your assaults can finish them off and get the kills. So in general, as a Pain Gunner, your entire job is to make it as easy as possible for your assaults to get kills. So this is what I run on my Poison Pain Gunner. So I tend to get, again, the 3 powers. I'm a huge fan of these 3 powers. I get them in pretty much everything I run, just because power controls everything else you can do in the game. And so then I also like to get the 2 protections to make myself tankier, since as the Pain Medic you're way out in front and you're a primary target for the enemy, so you're going to take a lot of damage, so you want to be as tanky as you can. And then I get Team Boost Increase so I can get my Oathbreaker faster, since if you get your Oathbreaker you can win a fight right there. Then under Poison, I tend to get the Poison Duration and both Poison Durations. So these basically they make them do more damage since they last longer, and they allow the debuffs to last longer. So those are good when your whole reason for poisoning people is the debuff. Then I get Offhand Power, which just increases the damage they do. Offhand Utility, which increases the radius, so I can stay slightly farther back and still hit people. So there's Quick Poison, which increases the damage and the cooldown. This one's pretty good to run, but I think the alternatives are better. What I would wish is that this was up here, so instead of getting the second poison duration I could get Quick Poison, but how it's made, you have to get 3 skills before this line to be able to go farther down the tree. Instead I get Battle Medic, which gives me a ton of survivability. I get lots of protection, I increase the heal, like when I'm getting healed I get healed faster, and I increase my speed. So this is very good to just stay alive. I get Fighting Medic, which gives me health and more damage for my poisons. And then Death Medic, which makes me do more damage and allows... It's basically just a lot of damage. And so some people used to run these bio rifles to increase the ability of the Pain Gun. But it's really not that good, because the first one, which increases range, doesn't affect the Pain Gun, so that doesn't help you at all, so that's a wasted skill point right there. And this one is minus 10 power cost, which is nice, but 10 power, you're using 2 skill points for 10 power cost, which isn't that good. And then this last one is why people like to do it, because it says it increases the additional damage taken by Pain Gun targets by 20%, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually almost nothing. Because the Pain Gun increases the amount of damage taken by a little bit. Let me check what that is. It increases the amount of damage taken by 30%. So you would think, oh, now it does 50%, so I'm doing 150% damage. No, it doesn't. It does 20% of the 30%. So it now does 36%, which you're using 3 skill points for a little bit more power and 6% extra damage. It's not good. So yeah, this is what I personally run. If you're running a buff Pain Gunner, you'd most likely wouldn't get anything in this poison tree. Personally, I'd go... I don't know, I don't run buff Pain Gunner very much, so I'm not sure exactly what I'd do. The main things I'd want to get would be these group heal sizes and effects, and then these heal durations, so the buffs last a lot longer, and these allow the buffs to hit more people and heal more. And then I would get buff enhancement, which is just really good for buffs, and it's also really good for the nanite, which you would be running. So that's my basic guide for the medic, and if people actually end up watching this, then I may do some more advanced guides and maybe some guides about AVA in general, or how to level up a good character, or pretty much anything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and that was my guide.